Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, Mexican Independence Day weekend looms ahead. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, we're recording on a weird day out here in the Northeast. It's 9/11, and out here in Jersey, New York, it's always a little somber, but the weather is beautiful, just like it was just the day that all that stuff happened, and we're here trucking on. Uh, we got to talk about your time in Colorado. You were there in house. I feel like that event suddenly turned into something greater than what it was, despite the Musumeci and all that stuff nonsense. Because one of the goats of the sport that never got the love he deserved, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, hung him up. And I feel like you didn't know that was coming when you went there, and you. I just feel like I was like, I don't know. The first thing I thought, I was like, man, Matt's so lucky he was there for that.
It was cool. It was cool to be there. It was cool to be at his last fight a year ago, and that turned out to be, being his last fight. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
to two one events. So I basically went to his last fight at one, and then a year later I was there when he got, when they put him into their Hall of Fame, and he got
Mm-hmm.
to, he got to have a farewell in front of a nice, healthy crowd. I'm not sure what the exact numbers were, but I would say it was about 90% full. Um, in a nice, NBA size arena. They blocked off some of it for the stage, and anything that would have a obstructed view of the stage
Mm-hmm.
and the screen itself. But yeah, I mean, they're just fun shows to go to. I mean, you might not know all the guys fighting MMA on the card. You might not know all the guys fighting Muay Thai, but they're usually entertaining fights. There was a slow MMA fight which kind of was rough. It opened with two KO knockouts
Mm-hmm.
in the Muay Thai divisions, and um, I mean, I don't know exactly where I want to go with this, but I feel like that one should really focus just on Muay Thai. I know that they basically do,
Mm-hmm.
but I would love to almost see it become now they're the House of Martial Arts. So I feel but really it should be that the majority of fight on a 10 fight card there should be 7 Muay Thai fights. I think every event. I just especially the United States events because
Yeah.
the UFC is so dominant when it comes to MMA. I feel like something new and something exciting. I mean, there's not much more exciting. The BKFC when two guys are squaring off, but this is like, I feel like this is more technical. Obviously, we're legitimately seeing the best in the
Yeah.
world at a certain art with, without the regular gloves, with MMA gloves, which just brings. I mean, it's we saw John Lineker do it. I mean, who couldn't
Yeah.
watch John Lineker do that 35 more times over the
Yeah.
next
Yeah. That
10 years?
I was gonna say that was fun. I think they wound up giving out 6 bonuses that night because of the finishes that happened. Um, and
It would have been 7, but the one guy missed weight.
the one guy
The
missed weight,
the
and
heavyweight that beat En Lasang. Yeah.
and what was it like? I mean, because I know one of the high profile matchups was Rutolo and Musumeci, and that got scrapped like the days before. I know you went out there Wednesday, Thursday. So, what was it like for you? Like when you got there, and all this was unfolding, and you get there fight night, and that's off the card. I mean, were you kind of like pissed, or what was your?
Well, I knew that fight was scrapped about a week prior.
Hmm.
So I had actually told the other person that was going to the fights the deal. I was kind of bummed out, but
Hmm.
is what it is. I assumed Musumeci was off the card from that point on. Then come about like Thursday, day I get into
Hmm.
town, I start seeing the weigh-in results, and Musumeci's weighing in, and I'm kind of going, okay, I didn't realize. So apparently he was lined up to fight
Hmm.
Oliveira, another jiu-jitsu champion. Um, and then the debacle of him missing weight despite it being 3 weight classes from
Yeah,
the fight.
it's a lot to ask. Yeah,
I mean, it seems stupid, and I don't understand why there couldn't just be a catch weight. I don't understand why it had to be a championship bout, and
especially for
why.
grappling. I don't know if the I don't think the commissions are involved with grappling as far as sanctioning stuff like that goes. I know in New York they are, but I don't know about out there in Colorado. But
Other than medicals, I wouldn't think there would be a whole lot to it. I mean, your medicals and maybe not huge mismatches. As long
yeah.
as guys are
What's up, Antoine? Yeah, about I might be at the Atlanta one, so that's closer to me. I actually, it's funny that you asked that. I put in for my request for that time today, so I'm just waiting to hear back. But that's one I might go to. I mean, it's a Matt's Matt gets to almost everything that I wish I have gotten to. More stuff happens out on his side of the country. I mean, you've even been to you went to the Pride events when they came here in Cali, so I mean, that's one thing I'm always like, man, Matt, he's got I mean,
I
he's
got a
got
leg
gifts
up
for
on
certain things.
location. I got a leg up on location.
Yeah.
Colorado's easy for me because it's for me to do Atlanta nowadays is tougher. It's more of it has to be a longer trip, which requires
hmm
obviously more time off and
Yeah.
someone to watch the dog for a longer period of time. So it's more difficult unless it's something mega special, which this card might be. You got Malkin and Red Rug could be an epic. I have a feeling I'm nowhere how that fight's going to end, but how it gets there could be super exciting. But yeah,
hmm
I mean, I think you should definitely make that trip. I think you don't know how
Oh yeah, I
long
want
these
to
are going
check
to
it
be
off. Yeah.
around, and there's
The,
always these weird rumors around one, so you never know when you feel like that day could come around where it's like we get that Pride announcement, basically where, but
yeah.
I would like to see him go towards Muay Thai. I'm surprised, more and more surprised by the day that the UFC, we have slap fighting, we have all this other stuff, but they're not, if the UFC put together a Muay Thai's rules of combat organization with 4-ounce gloves
yeah.
and allowed guys to cross over and they signed guys and they made I mean, I just can't even imagine how it would be so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, the most exciting night, fight on a prelim card to like a UFC when two guys are just going at it and the crowd's just
Yeah.
erupting. That's what you basically get for every nonstop for those Muay Thai fights in person. I mean, you're just the strikes are
Yeah, and it
you
seems
hear
like
it.
if they're going to expand it to anything, it looks like boxing is going to be the thing. And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to. I was just on the Last Round podcast on Monday, so I don't want to like disparage boxing after I made all these arguments by us as a whole, as fight fans as a whole, shouldn't be at each other's throats. We should be rooting for both sides to win, so that both sports can grow together. But boxing's been around. It's probably the oldest combat sport in the North America, or in the world even. So it's like that would be a nice mix. And if anybody could do it quickly, I mean, like you said, I mean, look at what they're putting into slap fighting. They could easily put that into Muay Thai, or even some version of 4-ounce bare knuckles or something. You know what I mean? Like 4-ounce gloves, or not bare knuckle, but whatever triad was trying to be. If UFC did that, it would have taken off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand them not wanting to step on their own toes and
Yeah.
maybe discredit MMA. You know what I mean? It won't discredit MMA, but it could. I don't know how that. I don't know how that works. Boxing's obviously its own entity. I don't see where Zuffa boxing really makes a big dent in anything,
No.
because I don't feel
No.
like there's enough boxers that the public knows. I mean, I feel like there's like 20 boxers
Yeah.
to fill out all these organizations. And right now I kind of feel like everybody's had their shot and everybody's kind of failed. So
I love.
let's let
I'm,
Turkey
yeah. Yeah.
have his opportunity to see what he can do and what wrangle it all together.
So I mean, I giggled because I saw this question by Antoine. Do you think by 2050 UFC will follow sport of boxing in terms of popularity? I mean, yeah, the fact that you cast that far ahead into 2050, which is another like 25 years, I'm like, I wonder how long will it truly take for that to be the case? Because again, boxing has such seniority. And if you didn't listen to the podcast I did with Danny Zaldivar the last round, we because we were talking about the Cole Canelo thing, and Matt and I are going to get into that when we talk about UFC 306 and this weekend. Canelo being, what was he, like 2 miles from from the same location?
He
So
probably maybe not even that far.
yeah, so it's like I mean, do I think they can swallow it? I don't think so. I think there's too. I think there's too many people. There's too many generations of boxing to kind of wash it away. I don't think it goes away, especially when you got like Turkey. I always mess up his name. You know what I'm talking to the Riyadh guy, Turkey, who loves it so much and is throwing his bottomless pits of money at it still. I don't think so. I mean, if anything, it just gets. Maybe you'll see like boxing brought to you by the UFC. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll see stuff like that or Zuffa boxing, but I don't think it swallows boxing. I think it just becomes. I think it just becomes a whole thing under one big umbrella.
Yeah, I don't. I'm curious to see what the future holds. Obviously, in a 25-year span, I feel like people's abilities to pay attention are getting less and less by the day.
Mm-hmm.
Where so I don't know. I'm curious to see how the fans. I talk about BKFC. I talk about this Muay Thai stuff because
Mm-hmm.
it's basically TikTok combat in a sense that like
I
it's
love it.
highlight reel after highlight reel and it's quick paced and you got 3-minute rounds and stuff like that and
Somebody's gonna coin that too. Someone's gonna make that a brand. TikTok combat. Maybe TikTok will have like vertically streamed events. Like
I mean but you know what I mean, like it's the quick. I wonder how grappling is going to be appreciated 10 years down the line.
yeah,
In the middle of a combat, like you already hear the stand-up chants have gotten worse and worse over the
yeah,
decades. Are we going to get to a point where it's
yeah.
30 seconds on the ground, a minute
That's
on the
one thing.
ground, like
That's
I wonder how MMA is going to evolve. I don't think boxing,
mm-hmm.
if anything, I could see boxing going to like 7-round fights
Yeah,
or
yeah.
6-round
I
fights
could
and
see
it
them being
becoming.
shorter, but to your point about the stand up chance, especially since it was in your neck of the woods, the Bellator event that was in San Diego, poor Aaron Jeffrey, who won his fight against Douglas Lima the smartest way possible, was by closing the distance and grinding and trying to wrestling and him holding. That's how you fight a guy like Douglas Lima. So I was shocked to hear boos coming from the crowd in that area, especially for some place that Bellator's been to a lot and that we've seen a lot of great events. I was actually surprised to see that happen over the weekend. Um, and it's to your point, like you said, people are just getting more. It's like they're not getting the sport's gotten bigger. We thought people would get more educated, and the opposite seems to be happening.
I don't know if it's less education. I would, the more I think about this, just sitting here, like there's events all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're used to being fed highlights of the main
Mm.
events and the knock. You know what I mean? Like it's constant feed. Like back then, we would, years ago, you'd be like, well, there's not that many events. That 20% of the fights are going to kind of be duds, and we're going to kind of
Mm-hmm.
roll with that. There's going to be another 40% that are going to be good, and then there's going to be 25. You know what I mean? There's going to be some, the terrible, and then you're going to have ones that are just going to be great fights. I feel like people are just expecting so much now that
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, not only is that the way you fight Douglas Lima, if you have to win, but
Yeah.
these guys, I feel like these Bellator fighters now are in such limbo. You have to win. It's much better to get booed out of the arena and pick
Mm-hmm.
up a win, not knowing what your future is, because
Yeah.
then to have a loss be the last fight when you got to go talk to Endeavor or you got to go talk to Ryzen, or you know what I mean? Like an exciting loss to Douglas Lima
Yeah.
doesn't do anything for Aaron Jeffrey. A win, just him on the resume with a win now,
Mm-hmm.
and
Against Douglas Lima. Yeah.
it's a rebound. I believe he lost his. It was his last fight, or he was on a little
Yeah. He
skid.
lost
He
the
had
one
lost
before
two in a
that.
row,
Yeah.
right, or one before that. I know
Yeah.
Salter beat him, and then he, I don't. Anyways, he was on a little bit of a skid from where he was at a year ago. 2 years ago. So you needed to pick up the win. It's the smart way to pick up the win.
Mm-hmm.
It's how the sport has to be for it to be a sport. There has to be some slow fights where fighters win because they're better at what they're doing within the
Mm-hmm.
rules of the sport to win. And
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm the first to sit there and be like, I don't want to maybe watch like 6 of those fights in a row. But when I'm seeing two guys who are top level, if that fight's happening at Rage on the River in Mississippi, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not real. I'm probably going to the bathroom break during the fight. But
Yeah.
that's a fight where you got two top 30 ranked guys in the world. I mean, maybe even better than that. Fighting it means something when a guy wins and is able to
Mhm.
dominate and do what he needs to do to pick up the win. So I don't know. Props to Aaron Jeffrey. I didn't get to see the earlier fights of the night, so maybe it was a slower night. Um, Getting to that point and the crowd, but generally San Diego, like you said, Southern California is
Yeah.
generally, barring the occasional, Golden Boy boxing or something where, the crowd can get a little fired up. Like, it seems to me like most of the time, like, it's real educated,
Yeah.
for the most part in the grand scheme of the fandom of MMA.
Yeah. I mean, that was that. I mean, it's funny that like because you had talked about we didn't record last week, but the week before you had talked about how like you because of the way Bellator PFL is handling things, it wasn't really on your radar, and going to Colorado was more worth it to you. And I just feel like you probably would have had a bad time if you were in San Diego versus what you wound up doing anyway.
I mean, I saw Nurmagomedov win at UFC or at Bellator 300. And it was, I mean, it kind of same kind of performance. Not, the guy's dominant,
Mm,
but again, unless, and those guys are top ranked guys, but right now, man, unless I'm
hmm
paying, not watching, there's a difference between watching a TV and going. If I'm
hmm
paying the good money to go to an event right now, I'm feeling
Yeah,
like unless it's a UFC with the top
yeah,
card, I'd rather watch BKFC or one and just get that little extra flair of entertainment that they throw in there that's just different. Right now,
yeah,
that little extra flavor is keeping me alive as far as wanting to keep absorbing new stuff, as far as just
yeah.
waiting for UFC pay-per-views, because most of the Apex cards, man, are they're rough.
They
I
are
mean,
rough.
it's
Last weekend was actually a good one. 'Cause with the one with Trevor Peak, and I actually thought that card was good. It should not have been for all the cards they've been putting on ESPN Red. That should have been one that should have been on ESPN Red.
I
But
just feel like
that's
all the good fights that we do see on those cards should
mm,
be on real fight nights or
hmm
or on pay-per-view prelims. Like, that's I mean, Trevor P can keep fighting and he can have exciting fights. He can win or lose, but it's kind of, if a tree falls in the middle of the forest. I mean, I don't know,
yeah, yeah.
and I don't think it's going to get better when they're not on ESPN. I think it'll be like, if they continue these Apex cards and it's some wild, weird, random streaming thing that you have to go to
Yeah.
for these. I think a lot of people are going through their ESPN apps, seeing that there's fights on and watching it. If it's not through ESPN, I'm curious to see if there's a fall off, or if we just kind of, I know they're talking about expanding it. I wouldn't mind the whole thing if they
I
expanded and
know.
actually got a decent,
Yeah,
allowed 1,000
I know
people
that.
in there.
One of the other things that they because I mean they are seeing the feedback, and they're seeing about folks kind of complain about the Apex cards and get back on the road, and it looks like that seems to be in their 2025 plans based on a lot of stuff Dana's been hinting at. And I don't know if you saw, I shared that Sports Business Journal piece that they wrote on Hunter Campbell, who seems to be they're propping him up to be Dana's replacement should he walk away. But that seems to be something that's definitely not out of their view. But speaking of UFC events every weekend, obviously we should preview UFC 306 slash Noche UFC. I know there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend, but obviously this is going to be the thing that's kind of on the precipice of everybody's attention. And the thing that makes me want to bring that up is Antoine's question here. He's asking if we think Dana White raised the bar too high this weekend, you're really going to show the world something new, so something we've never seen before, because he's been to the sphere before. So my take on that, and if you guys that haven't subscribed to my newsletter, please do. I wrote about it. I've shared the piece. I'm going to share it again one more time before the weekend. We have to wait and see because we don't know what's going to happen since it hasn't happened yet, and it's the first time that they're there. My only big question mark as far as this sphere event and presentation is how that extends to folks watching at home or in a bar. I did get a press release. I'm writing a piece on it now. I actually have to publish it tonight for my MMA news. But one of the things is that it is the first event that's being broadcast in 1080p. Um, so I guess that's one of the things they're trying to do for folks watching at home. But if you're not in the sphere, I don't know if all these things that they're doing translate well to the home viewer. So that's my big question mark, and that's what's making me anxious to see it. I wouldn't say I'm excited about the event, especially as it's supposed to be a love letter to my people. I think Canelo's got that in the bag. If you listen to my appearance on the last round, as far as my Mexican blood, what it's more excited for, it's more excited for that than this UFC card. But my curiosity is what has me wanting to watch the UFC. So I want to see what this all looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, from what I've heard, it sounds kind of lame to me, if I'm being honest. Like, I mean, that's from what I heard Dana White say about it being a movie, and there being movies in between fights.
Yeah,
And then when the
there's going to
fight,
be six little, yeah.
So, and then when the fights happen, the fights are the stars. So, like, is there not going to be anything special going on during the fights? Like, unless like they're fighting in the middle of the Amazon rainforest or jungle or the you know whatever jungles of Mexico. Like, unless there's something going on like that, I don't know. In the background, like, I don't. I if I spend $3,000 to go to this with the 10 fight card that's mediocre, and it just turns out that I'm watching some like Sharknado video going on between fights.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
hoping.
know. I don't know. I mean,
So
he's talking about Grammys and stuff, but he also said slap fights more popular than all the other sports combined. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't right now. If I spent that much money, I'm kind of nervous that like this. I don't know. And how it translates to me, it's just going to translate to a video on the screen. So there might be it might be a cool story, but is that cool story going to be worth the extra, the what it cost? I mean, a $2,000 movie is a $2,000 movie.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I mean, I know he said something along the lines like the fear is the star when the fighters aren't fighting, and when the fighters fight, they're supposed to be the star. But my concern is for all the competitors on the card is, and I know some of them have walked through it already, but I don't know if a walkthrough helps you if you're going to have, like you said, if I'm focusing on a fight where someone's trying to hurt me, like I don't want to be distracted by giant Mexican god things
like an
floating around.
flying.
Yeah, you know what I mean, like eagles and stuff and snakes, and like I don't want that to be something that freaks me out. That's to the point that it distracts from me having to defend myself.
That's why when he said the fighters will be the stars, I kind of felt like the place is going to go like dark for the fights.
I hope so.
Yeah, in a sense, I wouldn't mind. It doesn't have to be a living screen necessarily in the background, but you could have trees and kind of a standard background, as long as there's not orangutans and stuff swinging from the trees. Like, I mean, I feel like that could be a possibility, and I think that would have to be that for the live audience. To me, the best possibility to make this really like cool but still not worth that much money would be the walkouts.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the walkouts could be really cool just from what I've seen. Antoine's been to the Sphere. I haven't. I've just seen the videos, but I can imagine some kind of walk entrance that brings you into some kind of different world would be pretty cool.
And that was noted on the thing that because they released a lot of there's like assets and stuff, that visual assets. So I've seen what the fight kits are going to look like. I've seen the pictures of the Octagon. They have all these Mexican-born Octagon girls. They're going to be working the event. But it's definitely something that again, we have to see how it's presented. So I don't know if he raises the bar too high. I don't know if he's overshot. And I mean, I've heard numbers as far as being in the hole for the event, 20 million. And then, like you said, we can't go by everything he says, because I think he was saying after a Contender Series last night that it's already a sellout, but folks are going online, and I think Trent Rensmith is the one that's probably watching it the closest over at Forbes, that they're really not that sold out. And
I look all the time. I keep waiting for tickets have dropped down into the upper 600s now.
Oh wow.
From 3,000 base. So I mean, another 50% drop, and I might be driving out to Vegas for an afternoon. If it gets to the point where it's just a couple $100, I don't see it getting that low, because there would be like a 90% drop in prices. But but we'll see.
That'd be crazy though if it does get that low and you do get out there like that. That'd be
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a long shot at this point,
Yeah,
but it's I can make that decision Saturday morning if
yeah.
you know what I mean. Like I'm open to that. If if it for some reason I see that low or other things open up, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, getting to the fight card though, we got to make our main card picks here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who do they show on the main card on the UFC. I'm on Tapology on my iPad. So
They have. We will start from the first fight from the pay-per-view
okay, so that's
portion.
they have the same ones then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm right off the bat. I'm surprised Raul Rosas is on the prelims.
Well, they got to spread the. They don't
Uh,
have that many available
uh,
Mexicans.
on the early prelims.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not surprised because like they, Brandon Moreno just made his comeback. I have a feeling like when this was all in the working, Brandon Moreno wasn't on his break yet. So they didn't, they have to pull out all as many Mexicans as they can to fill the card. So I mean, we
I'm just
got
surprised his card's not on the main card. I just
yeah. I mean, they got all these people here on the left, so they do have they have enough Mexicans on the card. But when you make this your main event, no shade on O'Malley or Devashvili, but if
no.
Brandon Moreno was available, I'm pretty sure it would have been Grasso, Shevchenko, and Moreno versus somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a sign of the time for the UFC. This whole year has been a struggle to kind of put everything together. Now
But
it's
that's
worked
their
out.
fault too. Yeah,
It's their fault. They have no problem putting together. Well, they did have to cancel a Saudi Arabia event too because that card was weak as hell. But, um, you know, it seems like you could have planned. We've known about this for a year now. It seems like you could have guaranteed more of a Mexican fight card or more Mexican themed fight card with at least people that are more recognizable. But
Antoine's asking if you would get a hotel or crash in your car. I feel like Matt's already crashed in his car.
I thought you were talking about you going to Atlanta. No, like I'm
No.
like Jesus. No, Ed goes to Atlanta. I would assume he's getting better not sleep in his car.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
no,
not in Atlanta.
I'd stay at a hotel if I wanted to drive there.
Yeah.
No, it's 110 degrees. If I sleep in my car, I might not wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
Ed might not wake up for another reason, but for me it would be the heat.
Yeah. No, so, I mean, as we look at the main card here, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to just do? Because I know you want to talk about the BKFC. We can go from the midpoint up, or it's up to
Yeah, I
you.
mean the bottom couple fights, you got Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Odi Osborne. I mean, I know you I don't know if you did a whole lot of research for these. Obviously, these are not necessarily household names, but Rodriguez is on a win streak. I do see him winning
Yeah.
this fight.
Yeah.
You know,
Same. Yeah. Literally, that's what I have because for the exact same reason. What did I write in my note? I mean, because Osborne's been on a 2-fight skid, and it just seems like this is set up for Rodriguez to kind of run through him. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but it is what it is. And
it's the opening fight on a pay-per-view, so it's not. It's kind of scripted to want to be that way, to have some basically either a beatdown or a fight of the night, in that slot.
Yeah. Oh, my camera just shut out. I don't know why the battery was full, and as long as you can still hear me, but
It's
we can
good.
move. Yeah, we can move ahead. Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovic. However you say his name.
I'm going with Hellhuber to win.
As am I. I'm actually going Ribovic. I have my notes up here too. I just feel like Esteban. I'm just gonna call him Esteban because I keep messing up his last name. I just feel like Esteban. He seems like the stronger finisher between the two fighters. So I'm going with Esteban. Man, that I can't pronounce his last name just because it looks like he's got he's got more finishes overall in his overall record. And then this one which is I believe is a rebooking, which kind of helped the UFC. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. I'm surprised this is like not higher up on the card again, but I guess they needed to put something else with. They wanted to use Merab and Devashvili for some reason on this card, but I feel like this would have made a nice co-main event. I'm definitely kind of feeling because of Ortega's had his break. I feel like is my hold on a second. My audio duck out. You guys, you can hear me now? What happened here? Sorry, it looks like I'm having some technical difficulties. Why is that? One second, guys. All right, I'm back in, but I don't know if you can't hear me. Odd. What is going on here? Headset. How about now? No? What is going on here? Why can't I hear him? Am I muting myself? Did I lose my stream? What the hell's going on here? I don't know why I can't hear Matt. Oh, there you go. I hear you now, but your microphone just went mute, Matt.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know how that played out, but we can try it again.
Yeah. Where did we leave off? We were on Brian Ortega.
You were talking about Ortega. I went through and kind of did my picks. I don't know if I was live. I don't know what was happening, but I was saying in that fight, I was leaning Diego Lopez to win. I think he's going to win by decision. A little bit more hungry, younger, more active fighter. So I'm going to go with him. I feel like Ortega just has a tough time staying fully active. So I'm going to go with Diego Lopez to win by decision in that fight.
Yeah, I got Ortega by submission. I think Ortega. I think because of what he's been through recently, I feel like, and what the weekend encompasses with the theme anyway that they're trying to do, I think he can pull that off. I think he can pull off a victory here. So I'm going Ortega. And then you went through the rest of the card.
Yeah, I kind of went through it. So Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko. I'm going
Mhm.
Shevchenko to pick up the win here. She lost the first fight. She got a
Yeah.
draw in the second fight. I feel she gets the win here, has a little bit of a
So
rejuvenation, and then
and
sets up a fourth fight.
and I agree
Uh,
with you on that one, but I just want to add. I just want to add. I feel like she has to get a finish. If she doesn't get a finish, because I agree with her. The thing that happened with her last time, I agree with her. Um, she said it was a draw, and she said the only reason it was a draw was because it was this time last year for a similar themed event, and and again, I'm even though I'm Mexican, I 100% agree that she probably uh could pull this off this time. So I think she pulls it off this time, despite everything else.
yeah, and I was saying I could see her picking up a finish in the
Hmm.
latter in the third, fourth round.
Yeah, she has to get a
So
finish. I think she has to get a finish, and she probably will work to do that.
I could see like a body shot, maybe like a
Yeah.
liver kick or something like that.
And what was
You know,
I mean, I have Marab picked by decision, but I don't write off O'Malley because I feel like O'Malley sort of, you know, especially with what he did to Aljamain Sterling. I think O'Malley just he's very cerebral, and we were always blinded by his, the pink and the antics and stuff like that. I feel like he can catch Devashvili with something that shuts him off, but the chances are slim. So my official pick is Marab.
yeah, I'm picking Dalavishvili to I said win by decision,
Mm,
maybe a late finish. I could also see him winning by a ground and pound
yeah.
after he just wears out O'Malley. I think if he sticks to his game plan that we've seen for like the last dozen fights, and it's just constant takedown attempts and grappling,
Yeah.
I see him wearing him out. If he decides to dance around and give O'Malley a dancing partner, then yeah, he could get hit hard and quick, and it
Hmm.
could be kind of one of those embarrassing losses where you just kind of go, man, you didn't even apply your game plan. Now it's back to the drawing board. I hope we don't see that here because I do think he brings a unique, you
Hmm.
know, skill set that in reality I feel like should be championship level, and I think it beats somebody like O'Malley most of the time. So yeah, I'll go with Davishvili to win. Like most likely a decision, but I could see a exhausted O'Malley uh, getting finished
Mm.
later in the fight, especially if we start seeing some heavy facial damage and you know uh, some actual physical damage
Yeah.
after rounds of ground and pound.
Yeah. And one thing I want to see, Antoine was saying something about Raul Rosas being starting off the card because he's young, but I don't think the movie part, because it's just only 6 parts that they have to do it throughout the entire event, and I believe, actually I have the thing downloaded. Let me just take a quick look at it. Noche talking points. I believe that the movie thing that they're talking about, and again, I'll write it up with the chapters over at My MMA News. It's going to be published this evening. Um, where's the notes on it? This intersection between sports and culture. Here it is. So it's 90 seconds, 6 chapters, and it's going to be done in the pay-per-view portion of the event.
90 minutes, right? Not 90 seconds.
90 seconds. No, it's 90 seconds because in between fights are showing it. So the whole thing is hold on, I just brought it down. Let me open it back up.
So it's a
Yeah.
nine minute
It's
video.
6 90-second videos. So you're going to get them. It's going to be starting at the pay-per-view portion of the event. Each chapter focuses on a different period of Mexican history and its influence on the makeup of Mexican identity. And then they have a bunch of production notes about who it's created, directors or whatever. First chapter is called In the Beginning. Second chapter is called Early Civilization. Third is Rituals. Fourth is Battle for Independence. Fifth is Fighters and Heroes. And then Mexico Today is supposed to be the final chapter. So it's 6 90-second chapters for the pay-per-view portion of the event based on they sent this out on September 5th, UFC. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be 90
Okay.
minutes. 90 minutes of the movie, man. I mean,
Well, I
we
thought
got we
yeah,
got we got
but
fights to watch.
yeah, but it's not that much if you break it down times 10 fights, and then you
Yeah.
there's a 9 minute video between each fight. That would I would think that would be.
No, it's
That's what I
90
would
seconds.
I'd
90 second
expect. I'd
video.
expect a
Yeah.
9-minute video between each fights. 90 seconds of total. I don't know, man. Well, this is gonna be this could be one of those epic shit shows that we come around with come next week and be like, what it could either be epic or this could be I don't
Mhm.
know. I mean, there's nothing they could do to make it valuable enough for what they were trying to charge day one. So I'm
Mhm.
curious to see where this goes. But it is this Saturday, so
Yeah.
countdown's here.
Yeah. And really quick, we can't leave it out because that's I'm gonna be doing a 2-screener. I might have to go to an actual bar to watch because they'll both should be the bars by me will be showing both of them, Canelo Berlanga and this. Am I remiss to think you don't have Canelo?
No, I'm gonna pick Canelo. I mean, even if I didn't think Canelo maybe was gonna win, I'd still pick him because I don't think that they would. The promoters are smart. It's
Mhm.
Mexican Independence Day. Unless Canelo has a real off night, but if he's on his game, I have a feeling this is an opponent that he's going to do very well against.
Yeah, and one last, well, just because we're already ready, we're getting close to the end of time, but I got to ask you because I feel like it's worth mentioning. Dana White keeps saying he wants to take one of these Mexican themed days from boxing. Do you think he does it?
I mean, I think he can try, and it's going to be interesting because now him and MGM are at each other's throats. So
Yeah,
I mean, without the T-Mobile, I don't know. I wonder where this goes.
yeah,
I
because he did this interview with the L.A. Times, Espanol. I don't know if you saw where he said he's like, I know Canelo and boxing have Cinco de Mayo and September 16th, and he was like, I'm getting one of them.
I get he wants one of them. I just
Yeah,
don't know where unless he's gonna have a Sphere event every year.
which he's not.
I mean, is
Yeah.
T-Mobile? I don't know. If T-Mobile says nah, screw you, Dana White, we're gonna start
Mhm.
giving boxing all your nights, and I don't know. They talk. He acts like they hate each other. So
Mm.
I just wonder. That's MGM. So that's MGM Grand. That's Mandalay Bay. That's T-Mobile Arena. Where is he going to have his fights
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if MGM decides that he needs to find another? I mean, sure, I guess he comes to LA. I mean, but that's not Vegas. Without Vegas, UFC is it's a different. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. Will he try to take one? Yes. I just I don't. I mean, in boxing, it's going to be Canelo. You knew it was going to be like Mayweather. There was going to be a Pacquiao. There was going to be somebody and it wasn't always a Mexican fighter.
Yeah.
But I guess the UFC could do that. It would be nice to see their initial run here in such a big event have more of a Mexican flair in the top of the card.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I just as soon have, like you said, I'm gonna live both great life. I get to watch both fights on Saturday night. Like
Yeah.
So I'm all the more events the better. I like the competition and hopefully it's a great boxing match. Oh, I mean, hopefully hopefully the whole night just explodes and everybody's happy with every decision they made that night and what they were watching and what they decided to go to and everybody wins. I mean, that's the best case scenario. Obviously the worst case is the Sphere turns into a joke and Canelo gets, tears a hamstring in the second round,
Yeah.
I mean, but anyways, we're not going to hopefully that. There is also a Bellator event this weekend. There's also BKFC 65 on Friday. Actually, I'm sorry, 66 on Friday in Hollywood, Florida. So there's a ton of action this weekend. So catch what you can, and we'll be talking about it next week. Until then, fans can check out the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for listening. And have a good night, everyone.
Peace.